Dear church, let's talk about rural ministry. Dear church, let's talk Holy Spirit, transformation, prayer. 6 days, right? And if you love me, you will keep my commandments. Our culture wants to define you by your sexuality. We know that our identity is now Christ. Hello and welcome to the Dear Church podcast. I'm your host, Chris McCurley, joined by two great guys today, friends of mine that, I love these two guys. Chad and Chandler are with us. Chad Thies, Chandler Henderson, all the way from Stratford, Texas. If you don't know where Stratford is, it's a thriving metropolitan area on the far north end of the Texas Panhandle, right before you get to Oklahoma. I've been up there many a times to hunt and hang out with these guys. Really, really appreciate you guys taking time out of your schedule to join me. Thank you.
Yes, sir. We really appreciate the opportunity to come on your show today to talk about this thing that we've been whole hog in for about 2 years now, and it's something that's very near and dear to both of our hearts, and so we appreciate the opportunity.
Absolutely, and it's so important because we talk a lot to preachers and youth ministers and elders, and you guys would say that you're really none of those things, but you're in the trenches doing ministry in an area of our country that, there's just, the church is not huge. You have to drive long distances to get anywhere, including to church. If you've ever been to the Oklahoma or Texas Panhandle, you know that it's a very desolate area. It's very spread out. And so how does ministry happen in an area like that is what I wanted to talk about today. And, we tend to think that, churches are significant that are very large, but there's a lot of really strong, thriving churches in these small communities that may be 30 to 50 to 80 or whatever that, are doing good things. And you two are really, you probably wouldn't admit it, but I think the heart and soul driving, small town ministry in an area where it's not as easy as like where I'm at. I'm in the buckle of the Bible Belt, right? So it's pretty simple when you get down to it. But for you guys in the trenches, it's a little bit harder. Before we jump into this conversation, though, let's give our audience a chance to know about you. I know you, but let's get the audience a chance to know who you are. Chad, let's start with you. Chad, you're actually the city guy in all this. You live in town, and talk about the lay of the land at Stratford, and then talk about your family a little bit.
Yeah, so we've been here since 2010. I started in the teaching math at the high school and got an opportunity in the oil field, and so I've been doing that for about 15 years. Tash and I have been married for 17. We've got 3 great kids. They are my family is definitely my rock. You think about all the good times sitting around the table. Sometimes you're laughing, sometimes you're crying, but just to have them is everything. So, we've been married 17 years. Our oldest, Brox, he's 15. He's about to turn 16. He's a sophomore. Braun's a 7th grader, and Briar's a 5th grader. And so,
yeah. And you are married to Chandler's sister. I think that's right. Important to note as well. Yeah. The Henderson clan is rampant in Stratford. For folks to give more context, Stratford is definitely a football community, state champions recently, and every year pretty solid. And so that adds a lot of excitement to the community. How big is Stratford?
Population of 2,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
And far north Texas, so people can get a glance at it on the map.
Yep.
Chandler, tell us about your family. Yours is growing all the time, right?
Oh yeah, all the time. I think we may be done now, but I married Brooke in 2013, met her at Stillwater, had a campus encounter that they do there. And, we've got 4 kids, 8, 6, 4, and 10 months, all with outdoorsy names. We got Prairie, Granger, Aspen, and Mesa. Prairie and I just got back from Southeast Oklahoma on a deer hunt. She's 8 years old and killed 2 deer this year, and nothing has been under 200 yards for her to shoot so far. So pretty proud of that. But we've been married to Brooke for 12 years. And man, it's just lived here my whole life. Played football for Stratford. We won state when I was a junior. Man, it's a great community full of a lot of people who really, I think, have a heart for the Lord, and there's just a lot of religious confusion out there. And so that's one of the things that we really try to combat as we are going into this small town and trying to seek and save the lost. But I couldn't do it without the family. And man, one of 6. We've got, I think when we were at Red River, we had 52 people in our immediate family that was there for the Red River family encampment. And so a lot of good family support. We've got 2 elders in the family, and it's just, it's a good support backbone for what we do.
Yeah, large family that has tentacles going in a lot of different directions. And what's interesting about your family is you have a lot of your family ties in Guyman, Oklahoma, and the church there, and then, of course, in Stratford as well. Talk about the size of those 2 churches. So Stratford is how big?
So we're right around 35, 40 or so Sunday morning. Yeah.
And Guyman would be how large?
And Guyman is, man, it varies week to week, just like Stratford. But we're anywhere from that 35. We've seen as much as 65 show up on a Sunday morning.
And these are 2 communities that, like we mentioned a while ago, I'm just trying to give people an idea, context. These are 2 communities that are very remote, very middle of nowhere, I guess you could say. It's a very flat area, no trees, the wind blows all the time, and you got to drive a pretty significant distance to get to anywhere. Amarillo's what, 2 hours away? That'd be the closest big city from Stratford?
About 90 miles.
Yeah, an hour 15. Yeah.
And then from Guyman to, say, Oklahoma City or somewhere like that, about the same? Is that right? Or?
About 250 miles.
Okay, so it is spread out, and when you're looking at doing ministry in a place like this, obviously you guys have a big family, and so they're all involved in this. But when you look at ministry, what are some of the biggest challenges to do ministry? We've already mentioned some of them, but what are some of the biggest challenges in a place like this?
Chad and I were talking about this before and kind of trying to figure out, the best way to lead this off. And I think one of the biggest challenges that we faced, that I faced growing up, was, we went to church, we did all the right things, had all the right answers. But it was, for me, up for a long time, it was not much more than showing up on Sunday morning, Sunday evening, Wednesday night, and, just trying to live a good life outside of church, the best that we could. But man, the challenge was just getting out of that comfort zone, getting out of being comfortable with just going to church and that being enough. We could see our numbers dwindling, people leaving the church. It's just, I think we're kind of piggybacking on the evangelism of our, 2 or 3 generations that came before us, when the church was really striving in the 80s and the 90s. And we were, coming off of that. Numbers start to dwindle, people move away, people die. And now all of a sudden you look up 25 years later and you haven't had elders since 1993 at Guyman. We did reestablish elders this last year, elders and deacons in the church. But it's just, and it's a challenge just trying not to be complacent anymore. With that, we dove into COVID and our numbers were already low, and that just kind of gutted our ranks a little bit. But at the same time, I think it kind of backfired on Satan a little bit, in the fact that there were a lot of people that woke up, finally figured out it's time to start being the church that Christ called us to be. And so, you can go ahead, Chad.
Chad, tell us a little bit about what you've seen, and probably very similar in Stratford.
Yeah, Yeah, I think Chandler explained it well. It was the scenario where you look up and you see things stripped down in such a way that you say, "Hey, what am I actually doing about this?" And so, one thing that was huge for me is Chandler started a discipleship class, a disciple making class, about a year and a half ago. And that class really stepped on my toes a lot. It's one of those classes that you didn't go in and get a pat on the back by any stretch of the imagination. And so I guess for me, if I were just to talk about it with me, to come to realize that I think I've got some apathy in my heart and in my life, that it's time to make a decision. Which way am I going to go with that? Am I going to continue in it? Because if so, Chandler's classes are going to just continue to be really difficult to sit through. Or can I maybe start serving the Lord a little bit? And so that was a huge thing, that everything that Chandler said led into a very obvious need to address some things. And I really appreciate Chandler's class and the role it played in that.
Yeah, and I kind of see you guys as Joshua and Caleb here in the respect that you guys just decided somebody's got to step up, and why not you guys? And y'all were going as a family to Guyman and Chad. The way I understand it, correct me if I don't get my story straight. The way I understand it is recently you kind of said, you know what, this is all fine and good, but I think I need to be with my family at Stratford to help them and to be there full time. And so. Chandler, you're still in Guyman helping them. You've been instrumental in helping them establish elders. And I would also say this, I think it's important for our audience to understand, you guys are not trained in ministry. You guys didn't go to learn about how to do ministry. You've just decided somebody's got to take up this mantle, and why not us? And I know, not to let the cat out of the bag too much, but Chandler has contacted me a few times. Hey, they're asking me to do a funeral. They're asking me to do this. I've never done anything like that. You guys were even a little bit nervous to come on this podcast to talk about this. But I think it's important to highlight that you don't have to be a trained minister. You just have to have a want to and a desire to say, somebody's got to take this. So why not us? I don't guess there's a question there, but Chandler, talk a little bit about that.
To go along with that, in Ephesians 4:11, this was kind of Ephesians 4 was kind of the passage that we focused around in that Bible class. That Bible class was written up by a good friend of mine that preaches at the Tri-County Church in Cushing, Oklahoma. And believe me, it stepped all over my toes. The first night I read it, I knew that this is something we've got to start teaching. But in Ephesians 4:11, it says, and he gave some as apostles, some as prophets, some as evangelists, and some as teachers and pastors. But then 12 says, for the equipping of the saints for every good work of service. And I don't know how many times I'd read that, but I didn't understand that it's the saints that are supposed to be the ones going out and doing the work. It's not something that we can contract out to the elders, to the preachers, to the teachers, it's our job. And that's something that on the day of judgment, we're going to stand before Christ, and we're going to have to answer for whether we took up our role in fulfilling his great commission and being a part of the body of Christ that really is striving to attain to the unity of the faith in those communities.
Yeah. Chad, what would you add to that? I mean, what you talked about what spurred you on to do this. I mean, was it just hitting you in the face with it?
Well, unfortunately, sometimes you learn the best lessons the hard way. And so when I go back into the years, because you think about an apathetic mindset, and you think about all of the opportunities that you missed in that time period, and then you look around and you see what the result of that is. That is very motivating, number one, because I'm not pleasing the Lord. But number two, there's a whole lot of things that opportunities that I'll never get back. And so really it's just striving to move forward with, the reason to come back here. We've been living here for 15 years. We have tons of friends and tons of people that are important to us. And so the focus is how can we take the message out to friends, in this community, and do a better job of working for the Lord, and
Yeah.
so
Bloom where you're planted kind of thing.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
I love that. So we've talked about struggles, but let's talk about some of the good stuff. Like, what are some of the highlights? I think sometimes if you're like me, I got into ministry thinking I'm going to change the world and it's all going to be great, and it doesn't always work as well as you think it will. But there's always good to be found, and there's always blessings to be afforded. So what are some of the blessings, Chandler, that you have seen in all this?
Man. We sing that song, Count Your Blessings, name them one by one. That's one of those things that if we were to start talking about the blessings that we've seen come from this movement within our churches, it's we don't have enough time today to talk about it. But
Yeah.
one of the things in that Bible class, I taught that Sunday mornings at Guyman, and I taught it Wednesday nights at Stratford. And so both churches were going through the same class at the same time on making and maturing disciples, centered around the Great Commission, centered around the things that I haven't been doing my entire life. And the long-term goal in that was to come up with a plan for our congregations as a whole to be a part of making and maturing disciples. Towards the end of about the middle of that class, there were a couple men in the community at Stratford that started a community Bible study. And so we started going to that and thought, if there's going to be a community Bible study made up of all these different denominations, the Lord's church needs to be represented at these studies. And so we went to that and realized real quick that there's a lot of men who are really searching for truth. From that, we started to pull individuals aside outside of the studies and talk about, hey, what did you think about this? What did you think about that? And have hours worth of Bible studies, starting at 11 o'clock on Monday night and going until 3 o'clock in the morning or whatever. But towards the end of that lesson, that class, one of the things I'd say, that kind of started the whole thing rolling was we got to the end and we found Back to the Bible by Bobby Bates, just one of those tools that we can put in our allure, we can put in our tackle box. And so I thought, you know what, I'm going to use this on one of these guys and just kind of see how it works. And after listening to Rob Whitaker and his that works for House to House, Heart to Heart, listening to his seminar on how to use Back to the Bible and how to do personal evangelism, I did that after a Monday night study, started a study with one of the young men there. And 4 hours later, it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. We went out. I didn't have a key to the church building, so we went out to a stock tank and baptized him. But then he turned around that next day and taught his mom, his sister, and his wife, and he baptized all three of them. And then by the end of the week, by the end of a couple weeks, he had baptized both of his brothers and a brother-in-law also. And so it's just kind of the heart, the excitement that you could see in him and in everybody involved in witnessing that. And then you've got Brock's, that, man, it just snowballed from there, where, in the last 8 months, we've had 20 conversions between Guyman and Stratford, where people are getting excited about seeking and saving the lost and spreading the gospel in our communities again.
Yeah, kind of a contagious thing, and I love that. Chad, what would you say?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right with Chandler on that. It has definitely the culture, the mindset towards evangelism, and instead of making that something that sometimes just appears in the closing prayer of, "Hey, help us to go and spread your word," and then nothing's actually ever done, it has turned into, it's a culture, it's a mindset. And so, yeah, mentioning Brock's, he has found ways to get some of his friends in studies, and so yeah, he's converted.
15 years old.
Yeah, 15
Yeah.
years old, and he has converted 3 of his friends, and they are doing great and on fire. And we're having conversations of, hey, who we going after next? And they'll just go into Wednesday or Sunday morning, they'll just go into another classroom with Back to the Bible, and they're teaching the gospel. And so and for the rest of us, there is a core group of people that are working at the church in Stratford that are highly involved and highly motivated to grow our young Christians. We know that is an important part of this, while still looking to grow ourselves, because while some people have kind of taken a hold of, hey, we need to get out there and start evangelizing, other people are still kind of trying to find out how they can participate in that, given their skill sets. And talking about Rob Whitaker and his everything that he teaches on congregational evangelism, that's something that everybody can participate in, with all levels of your skill set and what you're comfortable with. And so that's just been a really exciting thing going on in Stratford right now.
Yeah, I can imagine that in a community, tight knit, small community like that, a lot of just maybe high morale and excitement going on. Talk about what the long range goal is here. I think we all know what it should be, but talk about that and how y'all are making steps to get there. What do you see in Stratford and Guyman as being gauging success? Chandler, I'll start with you.
So to gauge, success, a lot of times we like to gauge that in numbers. But truly, the whole meaning of the Great Commission is to make disciples. Baptizing them and continuing to teach them is a big part of the continuance of making those disciples. But he wants true disciples. And I think that, the long range goal is not just to dunk and run, but to truly have everyone in the church step into their role as a part of the body. And sometimes in churches, like we have in small numbers, you don't have enough people to make up the eyes and the ears and the mouth and all those things. And so sometimes people have to step up and be hands and feet, be the mouth and the feet to go. And, just the goal of not just baptizing a number of people. Anytime there's always a lot of fear in implementing some kind of study guide or whatever that is really good at getting people in the water. But the fear is overcome by the fact that the churches, all of our churches, are made up of 3 different kinds of people. You have to have bringers, you have to have teachers, and you have to have keepers. And I think, and they're doing an excellent job of stepping up into those roles and helping truly mold and make true disciples, disciples who aren't just churchgoers anymore. You can see their fruit. We see trees that are bearing fruit and then bearing more fruit and bearing much fruit. It's that whole cycle in John 15 that you can see of, you will know them by their fruit. And everyone is doing, I believe, an excellent job. And the goal is for our kids to grow up, and this just to be the norm. It's not the norm just to go to church, just to be a good person. You got that parable of the sower. It doesn't ever say, sow seeds of a good example. It doesn't say sow seeds of good behavior, or it's sow seeds of the word. The word is the seed that's sown. And for so long, I've lived my life thinking if I just be a good example, that's good enough. But at some point, you actually have to open your mouth and start teaching people the word. And so for everybody to have a knowledge and an understanding of the word, to use the quote from Billy McGuigan, our churches have been full of people who are 3,000 Bible verses overweight, and it's time to start using those and putting them into practice.
No doubt. Chad, what would you add to that?
Yeah, I would say the long range goal is to be reminded of the church, and being a part of the church is a tremendous privilege. You know, you think about there in Ephesians 5 in verse 25, where it says that Christ also loved the church and gave himself for her. And then down into verse 27, that he might present her to himself a glorious church. Like, we have a tremendous opportunity to get to be a part of that. And so when you think about long range goals, makes me think of Matthew 16, 24 and 25, where it says, you know, whoever loses his life for my sake will find it. And so for me to look up and to see, I have no studies going on. I couldn't remember the last time I had opened my mouth and said anything to anybody about Christ. And so, you know, a small goal at that time to get going was, can I just have one study a week? You know, can I find somebody, can I open my mouth and get something set up and let that be my goal? One study a week. And that turned into, I think I have time for a couple. And then it's like, you know, I think there's more time here. And now to think about my life not having evangelism in it, to not think about having an opportunity to get a sit across the table from people that I love and I care about, and we're building a friendship and relationship, all while doing what we're told to do in the Great Commission. That would be the long range goals. I have a story that maybe fosters the long range nature of this, because Stratford actually had a very evangelistic minister, Aaron Solis, in Stratford, and he was, man, he was banging doors. He was doing everything in his power to foster evangelism. Had a lot of good ideas. And here I am, right here while he's here, and I'm not really joining in. And he gave me every opportunity to join in with him. And that's another one of those missed opportunities. I can't get Aaron back right now in Stratford. But one of the seeds that he planted, there was a couple that he was friends with, and they just weren't really interested when he was here. And so anyways, Aaron has moved on, and he's doing great work elsewhere. But when that couple finally realized, like, hey, I think I do need God in my life, guess who they called? They called Aaron Solis, and they met up. They drove halfway, met in the Lubbock area. He baptized them into Christ, and they have come back to the Stratford area, and they are dear friends of ours. And it's just like, man, if we could keep this going, this Great Commission idea going, think about the long range nature of what that could produce, you know?
Yeah, no kidding. I mean, all this just gets me excited too, because, you know, I at a congregation where you have several ministers, and even one that's more dedicated to personal Bible study and evangelism, although we all should be dedicated to that. And it's almost like here, you know, you bump the cart and the fruit falls in the, and it's, you guys are doing the rolling up your sleeves and getting to work kind of stuff that we all should be doing. And it gets me excited. But hey, I don't want to let y'all go without doing what we always do on this podcast, which is highlighting the good. So tell us what you've got going right now that you want to highlight, that you want to let people know about, that maybe they can help with or contribute to. You know, Chandler, Chad, have y'all written books? Have you what are you doing right now that you know that we need to be aware of? Go ahead, Chandler.
It's hard to write a book from the cab of a combine, but
yeah, I bet it is.
Now, one of the things that we've got going on right now, Chad and I both are president and vice president of the board of directors at the OPSU, so Oklahoma Panhandle State Bible Chair in Goodwell, Oklahoma. Right now, Tanner, my younger brother, was the director, and he has taken a job in Huntington, Tennessee to be their youth and family minister there. And we're excited for him, excited for that new chapter in his life. But we are looking for a director. That's one of those things that it's hard to get people to come to the flatlands to entice them. But hopefully, you know, in hearing some of the work that's going on. We just really, we want somebody that can partner with us, that doesn't come up here and just take the job and then we turn them loose, but just to come partner with us in evangelizing at the college campus there in Goodwell, seeking and saving those kids there. 75% of our kids fall away within the first year of college. And so I think that's a ministry that we both have a heart for. It's a ministry that we don't want to see go away. And so, we're trying to rebuild a building after a fire. So we've got, all of that going on, but we really looking for somebody good to come and share in that with us, and sharing the excitement of spreading this gospel in a place that is truly white for harvest.
Yeah, no kidding. Chad, what would you like to highlight?
Yeah, I would just piggyback on what Chandler said. Is we are really looking for someone that is excited to. There is an entire campus that is a mission field for somebody, and so for a couple of guys that have realized the mission field in our lives, like there's just this opportunity right here to be a part of something being rebuilt, and could be a very exciting opportunity for somebody, and so.
Yeah. So the Bible chair at Oklahoma Panhandle State University, but also I was talking with a member last night, and she's so great because every so often she'll come up to me and say, "Hey, what do you see out there that's a need, and what can I contribute to?" And the rebuilding effort there would certainly be something that if people wanted to contribute to that monetarily, then that would be well appreciated also. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And I appreciate you guys being on today. I want to tell our viewers and listeners that if you have a specific question about today's episode, you can email me at chris.mccurley@rippleoflight.com. And if you have a question for Chad or Chandler, we will forward that on to them. I'm sure they'd be willing to answer any questions that you might have. Guys, thank you so much for being on today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Chris.
Absolutely. Until next time, may the Lord bless you and keep you. Sincerely, Chris.